All right, let's jump into a deep dive that's really going to make you think. We're talking about the case of Dustin Self, and, well, he just vanished in the Oregon wilderness.
It really gets you, you know,
Like, sure.
this case. It shows how powerful nature can be. Like, even with good intentions, things can go so wrong out there.
Yeah, and Dustin, he wasn't exactly like a pro-survivalist or anything. He was from Oklahoma, you know. It's pretty different from Oregon's wild landscapes. What even took him there?
Well, it seems he was really into this idea of, like, getting away from it all, back to nature. He was a big fan of that story, Into the Wild.
Oh, yeah, right, the guy who just went off to Alaska.
Yeah.
It's inspiring, but kind of scary at the same time.
Exactly. And just like him, Dustin planned this big solo camping trip, like a whole month.
Yeah.
Packed up his Toyota Tacoma with all his gear and just took off. Over 1,750 miles from home.
Wow, that's pretty hardcore. Did his family know about this plan?
Yeah, they did. They were a little worried, of course,
Right.
but not like right away when they didn't hear from him. I mean, he told them he'd be in remote spots with bad cell service, so some silence was expected.
Makes sense. So when was the last time anyone actually talked to Dustin?
The last contact we know of was a call to his ex-girlfriend, Sarah, on March 16th, 2013. And this is where things get strange.
Okay, lay it on me. What happened?
Sarah said Dustin sounded, well, kind of freaked out. He said he was trapped and couldn't get out of some town.
Trapped. That's pretty ominous. Did he say why?
His explanation was, well, pretty bizarre. He said he was seeing devil worshippers everywhere he went, like at gas stations and on the roads.
Devil worshippers. Okay, now that's creepy.
And it gets weirder. He told her he was seeing plants and animals dying around him and he was trying to, like, bring them back to life.
Hold on, that's just unsettling. What was going on with Dustin? Was he, like, having a breakdown?
That's the million-dollar question. Was it mental health? Something he ate? Something else entirely? It's a puzzle investigators are still trying to figure out.
And after that call, did anyone see him again?
Nope, he vanished. Just like that. His parents, obviously scared after what Sarah told them, called the police immediately.
So the police started searching for him.
Full-on investigation. Talking to people at gas stations along his route, looking for any trace of him or his truck.
And find anything.
About a month later, there was a break. But not the good kind. They found his truck abandoned on some remote road near Steens Mountain.
Abandoned? What about the truck itself? What did it look like?
And the truck was fine. And here's the thing, all his stuff was still inside. Laptop, camping gear, even his keys. Like he just stepped out and disappeared into thin air.
That's so bizarre. So even with the truck, no Dustin.
Nope. They searched, like everyone searched, authorities, rescue teams, even private investigators his family hired. Nothing for months.
They're searching for a ghost.
Pretty much. And all that time, everyone's wondering, what happened? Did we run off to start a new life? Did he run into trouble in that town he told Sarah about?
Or maybe you just got lost or hurt out there.
Exactly. Every day with no answers, the mystery just grew. And then 7 months after he vanished, another big development.
I have a bad feeling about this. What happened?
A hunter, way off the trails, found something awful. Dustin's body.
Oh no, after all that searching.
It was awful, but even the way they found him was just as confusing as him disappearing in the first place.
And what do you mean? What did they find?
His body was naked, curled up, his clothes were scattered around, no signs of a fight, no sign he hurt himself, no drugs, like a scene straight out of a nightmare.
So we still don't know what really happened to him.
We've got theories, of course, but the truth in a case like this, it's like trying to catch smoke.
Well, let's hear them. What are some of the theories the investigators came up with?
One idea is that maybe he died from hypothermia.
Hypothermia. Isn't that when your body gets too cold?
Exactly. And it can be deadly, especially out in the wild.
But wouldn't he have been wearing warm clothes?
You'd think so. But there's this weird thing with hypothermia. Paradoxical undressing.
Paradoxical undressing. What's that?
I know it sounds crazy, but when it gets really bad, people actually start taking their clothes off.
Really? Why would they do that?
When your body temp drops, your blood vessels kind of squeeze to save heat, but it can trick your brain into feeling hot, like burning up. So they start taking off clothes even though they're freezing.
Wow, I had no idea. So maybe that's why he was naked miles from his truck, got confused, and wandered off in a hypothermic state.
It's a chilling possibility, for sure. But it doesn't explain everything. Like the stuff he told Sarah about devil worshippers and dying animals.
Right, that doesn't fit with just being cold. What else have they considered?
Well, there's another theory. It involves a church in the area known for making a special kind of tea.
Tea. What's so special about tea?
Not your average tea. This one was made with a certain mushroom that, let's say, has mind-altering
Oh,
effects.
so we're talking hallucinogenic mushrooms.
You got it. And these mushrooms, their effects can be pretty intense, distorted perceptions, paranoia, even hallucinations.
So maybe Dustin found this church, drank the tea, and that's what caused those strange things he was saying.
Investigators looked into it, but there's no proof he ever went there or drank the tea. It's still just a theory.
So we have two possibilities. Both sort of fit some of the facts, but neither really explains everything. Seems like we're still far from understanding what happened to Dustin.
We are, and not having those answers, it just makes this case even more intriguing. We might not have the whole picture yet, but, we can't rule out something darker happening.
But you think it might not have been an accident?
There weren't any clear signs of foul play, no. But we also can't be sure that he didn't run into someone, well, someone dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, he told Sarah about being stuck in that town and seeing those devil worshippers.
Yeah.
Maybe that was his way of trying to say he needed help, like he was being threatened or something.
That's a good point. We have to consider that. But the problem is we don't have any proof of that, so it's just a guess for now.
It's just so frustrating. All these pieces, but they don't fit together?
I know, right? It's what makes this case so haunting. It reminds us that even today, with all our tech and stuff, some mysteries just stay mysteries.
Yeah, nature can be unpredictable and sometimes, well, cruel.
Definitely. It makes you think, right? How do we balance wanting adventure with staying safe?
It's tough. On one hand, there's this pull to push yourself, see new things, experience the world at its wildest.
I get it. There's something exciting about the unknown.
But then we have Dustin's story. It reminds us that pushing those boundaries, sometimes it can go terribly wrong.
I think it comes down to respect. Respect for nature, knowing your own limits, and accepting that you can't control everything out there.
Finding that balance between adventure and knowing you're not invincible.
Yeah. It's not just about getting somewhere, it's about the journey, what you learn along the way.
You know, we've been focusing on what might have happened to Dustin, like physically. But what about, like, his mental state? Well, what was going on in his head?
Oh, what are you thinking?
Well, his obsession with Into the Wild, wanting to escape society, connect with nature. What if that wasn't just, a hobby? What if it was something more?
I see. You're thinking maybe Dustin was dealing with something internally, something that affected his choices and led him down a dangerous path.
Exactly. We talked about the physical challenges, but what about the mental and emotional ones?
That's a good point. It's often overlooked in cases like this. We focus on the stuff we can see.
But sometimes the most important clues are the ones we can't see.
Absolutely. And mental health can be a huge factor. Being alone for a long time, especially in a tough environment, it can really mess with your head.
So maybe Dustin was having a mental health crisis even before he left.
It's possible. I'm not saying everyone who likes being alone or adventures is struggling mentally, but in Dustin's case, it's worth asking if his need to escape was a sign of something deeper.
It's like that saying, wherever you go, there you are. You can't run away from your problems no matter how far you go.
Right. Sometimes being alone with your thoughts just makes those problems louder.
So even if nothing physically dangerous happened, maybe the real danger was inside him all along.
It's sad to think about, but it's true. Mental health can be just as dangerous as any physical threat, especially in extreme situations.
This whole conversation makes you realize how important it is to take care of your mental health no matter who you are or what you're doing.
Totally. And we need to be more open about it as a society. We need to make it okay for people to talk about their problems, get help, support each other.
Sometimes the bravest thing is asking for help.
Thinking about mental health actually changes how we see some of those theories we talked about.
Oh, how so?
Remember paradoxical undressing? We know hypothermia makes you confused. But what if Dustin already had a mental health issue? Wouldn't that make the hypothermia even worse?
You're saying if he was already struggling, the cold might have made it much harder to think straight.
Exactly. It could have messed with his decision-making, made it hard to even recognize the danger.
And then what about the mushrooms? Could his mental state have played a role there too?
Absolutely. Hallucinogens can trigger mental health problems or make existing ones worse.
So even a little bit of that tea could have hit him hard if he was already vulnerable.
Right. That could explain the really intense, disturbing hallucinations he described to Sarah.
Wow, it's all starting to make more sense now. We can't really separate the physical and mental aspects of this case. They're all connected.
Exactly. It's not a simple equation. It's a whole bunch of things inside and outside that led to this tragedy.
This deep dive has been quite a journey. We started looking for physical answers, and now we're talking about the power of mental health.
And that's one of the most important things we can learn from Dustin's story. We're complex, and well-being means more than just our physical health.
Taking care of your mind and heart is just as important as taking care of your body.
Exactly. And even the strongest people can have hidden struggles.
Yeah, it's like there's this whole other side to the story, something beyond the evidence and the theories.
It shows that there's always more than what we see at first. Sometimes, the most important things are hidden.
You mentioning hidden truths. There's one thing about Dustin's story that's always stuck with me. It's that call to Sarah, the one where he talked about the devil worshippers and all the dying plants and animals.
Yeah, that was a chilling part of the case, for sure.
Right. And we thought maybe it was a breakdown or the mushrooms.
It made sense at the time.
But what if it wasn't just, random stuff? What if it meant something more?
Okay, I'm listening. What do you mean?
Dustin was all about the wilderness, escaping society, right?
He saw nature as this pure place, a way to get away from the bad stuff in the world.
Yeah. So maybe those devil worshippers weren't actual people, but like symbols.
Symbols, you mean like things that threaten nature?
Exactly. Like pollution, cutting down trees, all that stuff that's destroying the natural world.
And the dying plants and animals, maybe he was seeing that happening around him and it was like crushing his hopes.
He went looking for peace and found the opposite.
That's a sad thought. It's like he was fighting against nature, his own mind, and then this destruction of the place he loved.
It shows that you can't escape the consequences of what's happening to the world, no matter how far you run.
And it brings up a bigger issue, protecting our planet, keeping the wilderness safe for the future.
We can't destroy nature without destroying ourselves.
So, where does that leave us? We've looked at the facts, the theories, Dustin's state of mind, and even symbolism.
We might never know exactly what happened, but I think we understand the case so much better now.
And maybe that's the most important thing. We learned something, right? We thought about our own relationship with nature, with our own mental health, about the choices we make when things are uncertain.
This deep dive has been a winding road, but I think we've come out of it with a new perspective.
Maybe that's the best part, To be touched by a story, to think about it from all sides, and to come out of it feeling more aware and more understanding.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring the world, question everything, and never stop looking for the truth.
And until next time, keep diving deep.